Hey everyone, I'm here with AEW Triple Crown champion Eddie Kingston, and we're just going to have a conversation today about whatever. But AEW Dynamite is here tomorrow at UNO Lakefront Arena. So be sure to get your tickets and check that out.
At AEWTix.com, right? See, I got it.
That's AEWTix.com. I told Ricky last time that website is kind of confusing if you don't know it's TIX, because some people might put TICX for short for tickets. So that's a thing that I realized very early in promoting it. I was like, that's a weird website. And he agreed, but so I wanted to ask you, I've never been to New York.
Okay.
Tell me about what life was like in Yonkers.
In Yonkers, it was nice where I lived in Yonkers. My parents moved us there after we lived in University Avenue in the Bronx. So it was a bad neighborhood. They moved us to Yonkers, where we lived in Yonkers was like a nice little neighborhood.
Right.
But to the left of us was the ghetto of the Bronx.
Right.
To the right of us was the ghetto of Yonkers. So it was right in the middle.
One of my friends grew up in Yonkers, and he wanted me to ask you, because he knows you're a comic book guy, if you had ever been to the Dragon Den. And
Cross County?
Yeah,
of course
and if you had any good memories or stories of that place, because he told me it closed for tax evasion or something.
Yeah, of course it did.
And he wanted me to ask if you had any
just
memories.
a good childhood memories of going there. Yeah, going there, picking up comics. They also, at the time, I'm probably dating myself, but they had Pogs.
Oh, Pogs. I remember
and Magic the Gathering. I never did that stuff. I just read comics.
So you didn't do the Pogs?
No,
because I remember I was in fourth or fifth grade at the time, and they had to ban Pogs because technically it's kind of like gambling, but children are doing.
It is. Well, that's what Ultimate Team is now, isn't it?
Madden. I'm looking forward to the new college football game myself.
I'm dying for it. Yeah.
I love the dynasty mode.
Yes,
because I went to the University of New Orleans, and we don't have a football team. So I built in dynasty, and I went years, and I would love to go 8-4 because I could never make them good enough to compete with the big.
But I did the same
schools.
thing with New York University. I used to make up that one. It was in Manhattan and all that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Its own football team.
Those were good times.
Yeah, NCAA football 14 and all those were great. Madden, not a fan no more because they killed me.
I don't think I've played Madden in years. Every now and then I almost get the itch, but I'm like, it's the same game.
It's the same. Well, as long as if they fix franchise, I'll buy it again.
You heard that? Yeah, he wants franchise back.
Yeah, man. 08 is the best version of it, but they don't use anything from then. But anyway.
So going back to the Dragon's Den a little bit, what are your favorite comic books that you like?
Growing up, it was always Batman. I loved anything Batman.
What's your favorite Batman story then?
Long Halloween.
Okay.
That's the one I tell people to read if they want to get into Batman. I tell them to get into that.
Did you see the recent adaptation of that, the animated movie?
I actually liked it.
It was pretty good.
Most of the animated stuff like Hush, I did not like.
I thought it was all right, but they changed a lot because I've only seen. So I love Batman animated stuff and the movies and stuff. So I haven't read a ton of the books, but I've read a little bit. And the one I thought that was terrible that they adapted was The Killing Joke.
Oh, that first 45 minutes.
It's awful. Just cut it out.
Yeah, after that. So if you want to watch it, just skip the first 45 minutes.
Any of the romantic stuff with Batman, just remove it completely. It's unnecessary.
I still don't understand why they did that. But yeah, Batman was huge, especially when I was a kid because he had the animated series.
It's one of my favorite shows of all time. It's fantastic.
I still sometimes put that on and fall asleep to it.
It's great.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite episode of the animated series?
The two-part Two-Face one.
Yeah.
Where the origin of Two-Face and how he became Two-Face. Definitely that one and the Clayface.
Clayface.
Wow, he became it was pretty heavy for a kid.
Heavy, yeah. That show is surprisingly dark and gritty, and there's a lot to it.
Animation.
Yes, because they used to paint animate it on the black background.
On the black background,
and it looked great. So have you seen any of the Harley Quinn animated series?
No, I haven't seen that. Not my flavor.
It's pretty funny, I will admit, and they do a great job of incorporating pretty much every version of Batman into the story.
Really?
So there's a lot of little nods that you won't get. It's kind of like if you've ever seen the Batman Brave and the Bold, which is like
Yeah, I've seen a little bit.
It's kind of like that, but raunchier.
Okay.
So and a lot more violent.
A lot more violent. That's why it's on HBO Max.
It's kind of amazing when the first episode, Joker's just flat out slaughtering people, and you're like, this is not what I expected in this. You see blood and guts everywhere, and you're like, this is
on a kids show.
it's a little weird, but no, they do a great job on that show. So, moving on. You love All Japan Wrestling.
Yes. 90s All Japan.
I have not seen a lot of All Japan, but I do every now and then watch it on YouTube.
Yes.
And I was wondering, what are your top 5 matches that you would recommend to someone who's never had any context of it?
Me with this. There's more than 5.
You can go with more, but
the first match I usually show new people is Toshiaki Kawada versus Kenta Kobashi, 1998, I believe, June of 98, because you don't need to know the backstory of the match.
That's kind of what I like about a lot of All Japan Wrestling. You can just watch it, and it holds up. Yeah, like you don't need to know I've heard you talk about Easter eggs between matches and stuff. You can just watch All Japan and enjoy it.
Enjoy 2 men fighting.
It's also crazy to me regarding with All Japan. They do a lot of 30, 45, 60-minute matches.
Yes.
And they don't feel that long. And I think that's an art to and of itself.
That's definitely, because the first All Japan match I've ever seen was Kawada against Kobashi, and they went 60 minutes in Osaka in 1995, and I wasn't bored.
Right.
I'd never seen anything like that before in my life, and I was just like stuck.
I really believe it's I don't want to say it's a hidden gem, because a lot of the smarter wrestling fans know about All Japan, but I feel like it's not talked about the ways other things are in America nowadays.
Why I always bring it up, because it influenced me, my style. Another match is Jun Akiyama against Hiroshi Hase from the Tokyo Dome in 98.
I haven't seen that one.
And then Eni Masawa versus Kobashi, but especially the one in 99. I remember October, I think, of 99 it was. I could be wrong. But those are the 3 matches that I would show people all the time.
Is there any... Are there any guilty pleasure matches you have where you're like, I know this is not good, but I enjoy this? Because there's I'm a message board junkie, and
I remember those days.
Yeah, and every time you see the popular ones, what are the 5 matches you'd show to friends that never watched wrestling or whatever? I like posting the really weird stuff. I like watching Scott Steiner versus 3 cruiserweights from Thunder.
Yes, anything with Scott Steiner is great.
I like watching Perry Saturn versus it was Brian Pillman versus the Giant Pencil, because it was just like a promo.
And I'm like, ECW.
I like watching the obscure stuff just as much as the good stuff, because there's a sense of, all right, they're having fun with it. I watched one of my favorites and it's a terrible match because of what happened, but it was WWF Metal. It was Perry Saturn versus Mike Bell.
Oh man,
Saturn was great, and Saturn.
Poor Mike Bell.
Yeah.
That's all you can say.
Yeah.
My guilty pleasure has to be Johnny B. Bad against William Regal. I forgot which. I don't know why I love that match. It's just, I brought it up to Regal once, and he was just looking at it. I was like, I don't know why I love it.
He was like,
I still love it to this day. I don't know why. Don't ask me.
Johnny B. Bad.
He was great, I thought, in WCW.
His WWF run was a little.
Well,
they didn't have the gimmick.
Yeah, wild man. Yeah.
So last time Dynamite was here, you faced off with you were in a tag match with Santana and Ortiz, and I'll get to that in a second. But I wanted to ask you about, was the first time you wrestled here during WrestleMania weekend in 2018? Because I saw you did Bloodsport.
Yeah.
At Matt Riddle's thing, and you also did Pancakes and Pile Drivers against Juice Robinson. Can you share any memories from that weekend?
That was the first time I was in New Orleans. The Bloodsport match, I just remember it hurting a lot. And Tracy Williams was my opponent, and we just beat each other up real good. And the Juice Robinson match, I remember that because that's the first time I really got to sit down and talk to Juice, who I actually consider like a good person and someone who I can call a friend.
Right.
So that was the first time meeting him. That's the memory I get from those two events.
The WrestleCon shows are always interesting because you never know what you'll see.
No.
I was at the one in Dallas, was it 2 years ago or a year ago, whichever, and there was an 8-man tag, and it had the Rock and Roll Express, Enzo Amore, Onita, and I was like, what am I watching?
Yeah, you just watch.
I was like, they're just having fun out there. I was like, how do they get this? Like, the guy who runs those shows, how's he like, okay, I got this many guys. Let me put these guys who have nothing in common together.
And he knows it.
And he does it, and he knows it's going to work.
Well, because of WrestleCon, I got to fight one of my heroes, Masato Tanaka. When they were
I love Tanaka.
And I tell fans, check him out all the time. I also got to wrestle on another WrestleMania weekend for AIW Otani.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
Otani's my favorite junior.
Do you ever brag to Ricky that you got to work with Otani?
Oh, yeah, all the time. All the time. See, Ricky's pretty, so I got to get something over him. You know
that's true, yeah. I was going to then follow that up with, who did you have the better match with, Otani or Kamala?
Kamala, because Kamala was shorter and hurt less. That's why.
That's a good point. That makes a lot of sense. So, on the Indies, I also noticed you faced the Steiners, and you were talking about Scott Steiner earlier. I couldn't find that match to watch. What was that like working with them?
It was at House of Hardcore for Tommy Dreamer's promotion, and it was me and my mentor, Homicide, against Rick and Scott Steiner. And at one point, I just looked across the ring and saw the Steiner brothers and went, yeah, life's weird.
Yeah, like I asked Ricky a question that was similar to this. I was like, how often do you sit there and go, man, I've done some cool shit? Like, you're just reflective on it. And like, even if it's just for, 20, 30 seconds.
Oh, yeah. I do that at least almost after every big match,
right?
Especially at AEW. I'll sit down in the hotel room and be like, whoa.
Yeah.
And then after that, I'm usually like, all right, what's next?
Yeah.
Because we have a show Wednesday, or we have a show Saturday, or we have a pay-per-view coming up. What's next? What can help the company? What can I do to help the company grow? All that stuff.
It's a great attitude to have.
Well, I broke in when there was one company in the United States, and it was rough. Whoa. To make a living off this. I did off the independence, but it was still rough.
That's one of the things that I'm glad about as a modern fan, because people don't understand when the WWE was just around, guys didn't have the opportunities that they have with other promotions now taking off the way they are. Yeah,
you know what I mean? People have families to feed, and people want to live their dream. When there's only one company at a place, like, it doesn't help anybody.
Well, I've heard you talk about tribalism as fans, and look, I get if you like one more than the other. You know, we all have our different preferences, but the idea of like certain guys aren't going to get an opportunity in one company, so it's a shame that people want other places to close.
That I don't get, and I'll never get, because like I look at it like sports. I'm a Yankee fan. Surprise. And I hate the Red Sox.
Right.
But you don't see me saying I want the whole Red Sox organization to close. I'll say they suck. Even if they don't suck, I'm still going to say they suck. But I don't want them the organization to go away.
Right.
No, I want the competition. I want that. That's what fuels the tribalism, is the new word. But you need competition. And that's why, like, to me, AEW is my Yankees. And I'm going to say AEW is the greatest thing in the world, no matter what happens. And I'm going to say whatever the competition is, they suck. Even if they don't, I'm still going to say it.
Right. You're going to root for your organization to do the best that they can and be the best
Even
that they can.
Even on the independents, I was burying everybody but whatever promotion I was working for at the time.
Speaking of that, I have a thought that every time a wrestler is in front of a camera or in front of the public person, they're working. They're trying to get their stuff over.
Yes.
And how true is that, would you say?
Oh, very true.
Because
it's very true. Once you put a microphone or the red light goes on, a lot of us, it's on.
Like, because my producer and I check out the independents here, Wildcat Sports, run by Luke Hawks.
Oh, yeah. What up, Luke? I know Luke.
And it's a great indie promotion.
Yeah.
Ricky wrestled there. We've had some good names come through. Matt Hardy, Booker T, like some good names.
That's my man.
Stevie Ray was
of course.
he was a former world champion briefly.
He's big, man.
He's a
person.
huge guy.
Don't even play.
Shane Taylor was also there. Keith Lee, I think, did one show.
He's a big dude too.
It's always funny about the indies because depending on how frequent your promotion runs, sometimes they'll try to start a story and then never finish it because the guy is never booked or whatever.
Yeah.
And so where was I going with that? I don't remember. Who cares? This is fun stuff. What I like bringing people who have never been to an indie show because especially if you have a good quality one and not one of the lesser ones.
Oh, no, I like those better than
really?
people. Yeah, shock them a little bit. You know what I mean? Get their reaction to like being like, what is going on? This is nothing like on TV.
Right. Because that's funny. So you mentioned you're a Yankees fan, and I've worked in baseball in some capacity for the last 10 years, and I want you to sell me on baseball because personally I hate the sport.
Wow.
I know, but I do like working with the people that I work because my main gig is a high home camera for broadcasts.
Okay.
And so I do the game camera, and I've learned over time I've gotten good at this, but I still hate this sport.
Oh, man.
Well, because
baseball's America's pastime.
I know,
man.
but so here's the thing.
Hot dogs, Cracker Jacks.
Here's the thing. Working a baseball game and going to a baseball game are two entirely different experiences.
Yes.
You work a baseball game and in a high home camera, I can't get up and leave at any point during the broadcast.
To get a beer.
You can go get a beer. You can go get a hot dog. You can turn to your friend and talk about whatever's bothering you that day. Baseball's a very social sport. Yeah. I find.
I think all sports are in their own way.
Yeah, that's true. But I find baseball to be the real big exception because how often do you see baseball people? When I used to work in minor league baseball, I could tell you the amount of people who would go to a game and don't remember the score. They were just there to have a good time with their family and friends.
Course. That's why baseball's awesome right there. Right there. You just sold it yourself.
So I'm going to tell you a story. One time we were doing a broadcast and guy hits a home run and I sneezed. So my camera shakes left and right. And our play-by-play guy during the break, he runs into my camera room and he's like, what happened? I was like, I sneezed. So within like 5 to 10 minutes, the Marlins minor league blog took a the video cap of it and just was roasting me on Twitter.
Nice.
And I was like, man, I wish I had saved that because that's really funny.
That is funny. Well, you should have said the guy's home run made you shake.
I was
the
like,
camera.
Like it went to right, I went left and up and down. Then I was like, oh shit, where'd the ball go?
You were just excited. That's what you should have said. I was excited that he hit a home run.
Working in baseball was crazy. So do you like or dislike the pitch clock? Where do you stand on that
then? I loved it. Made the games go faster.
It cost me money.
Well, I apologize for that. But as a fan, I love it because it makes the games go quicker.
I will say that has helped the sport a lot.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. Because, at home, I'll have a baseball game on in the background.
Right.
And not really pay attention, maybe walk by to see the
That's
score.
what I've always wondered about people who love baseball. How many do you think actually sit there and watch the full game?
Oh, I know Homicide does.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Every pitch.
Yeah. I gave him my Prime
so he can watch.
Info so he can watch the Yankee games. Yeah, he watches every game.
That's insane.
Yeah,
There's so much of it.
It's funny, like football, I can watch football at home, but I can't watch football live at the stadium.
Really?
I just can't do it either.
It's gotten to a point where it's a much better experience at home, and that's part of the issue.
Well, the only because I also tailgate.
Yeah.
So most of the times, maybe I don't make it into the stadium because I'm tailgating. But baseball, if I'm at the game, I'll watch the whole game.
I'm a Saints season ticket holder with my brother, and we've gotten to a point where the last few years under Dennis Allen have been...
Well, you guys had Drew Brees for so many years.
We did, but now it's like torture.
Yeah, well, I'm a Giants fan, and we also have torture as well.
My former boss is from New York, and he he loves the Giants, and every now and then I'll send him a still okay when.
Yeah, it was rough, man. This year especially was very rough. We had Tommy Cutlets, but like I stood there going, it's like Jeremy Lin all over again. It's just going to be good for
right. You get a hot little brief moment of success, and then
we're still losing record. That's what I kept telling people. We still have a losing record.
You've mentioned you're a Giants fan.
Yeah.
You've mentioned LT as one of your favorites in a past interview.
Yes.
What did you think of his match with Bam Bam Bigelow?
It was probably one of the greatest WrestleMania matches I've ever seen. No, I give him credit, man, because like I'm watching it now and also being in the business, seeing how like blown up he was at the end. I was like, oh, that's good for the business, so people can see that it takes a lot for us to do what we do.
How has watching wrestling changed once you got into the business?
I don't watch it anymore. I can't. It's so hard for me to watch new stuff.
Because I know you've mentioned you don't like watching your own stuff. And I kind of think that's true of every creative person I've ever met.
Yeah, because if I watch anything of mine, I'm going to pick it apart and hate it.
Right.
You know, so I leave that to everyone else.
And we are our own worst critics, I think. Cause,
and I also know I can always do better. So like I said, I'll leave that to Twitter and other people.
I think... going into critiquing yourself or whatever, there's a sense of if you don't think you can do better, that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
There's a sense of, hey, man, I know what I did. I know my stuff's good. I'm going to let it speak for itself. Because I've seen you mention that you get weird and humble about, and not about getting praise or whatever.
Yeah, I don't like it because that's not used
like,
to it.
I think I let my work speaks for itself, and if people like it, awesome. If they don't, well, whatever. Yeah. Just move on.
Yeah, like I admitted that, like after a match I had with Miro, I was getting a lot of love on Twitter.
It was a great match. But
thank you. And I actually had a panic attack in my hotel room because I just did not like the attention I was getting, good or bad. I just didn't like it because, like, to me, I'm living my dream. I'm doing what I wanted to do since I was 9. And I don't understand why people like it or don't like it. I just don't get it.
Was there a specific moment you saw in wrestling that made you want to do it?
It was honestly the only thing that kept me calm as a kid. I was a hyper kid, used to run around like a maniac. And my mom found out that wrestling actually made me sit still for 3 hours.
That'll do it.
So she would go to get VHS tapes. That's right, VHS tapes from Video Visions in the Bronx, not Blockbuster. Video Visions.
I miss the old video store.
Yes.
That's an experience that I don't think will ever be replicated.
No. So she knew I loved wrestling, and she would just buy anything that had wrestling on it. She didn't know the difference between NWA, WWF, WCW, Memphis, nothing. She just bought whatever was there. And I think, honestly, there were a lot of moments that made me want to be a pro wrestler, but I gotta say, it was definitely Saturday night's main event with when Macho Man ran in on Hulk Hogan checking on Miss Elizabeth. And saying that he could see the lust in his eyes and how angry he was. And I know a lot of kids my age at that time were like, oh, Hulk Hogan... He was right, but I was the one kid that was like, well, he was,
I don't messing with the other guy's girl.
I don't blame much.
It's a little hard to.
But that was a moment. Finding out about ECW was another moment for me.
Do you remember the first ECW thing you saw? Or?
Yeah, it was Gangsta's Paradise, 1995. All right. My friend, so I stopped watching wrestling.
Yeah,
because I was a big Bret Hart fan, and also. He lost, and at the time WWF was very childish.
Was it the 94-ish, 95?
Yeah. So I was just kind of like out of it. You know what I mean? I was a teenage boy. What do teenage boys want to see? Violence and sexual stuff. And that's what ECW had.
So you missed Men on a Mission?
Yes. Yes, I did.
And TL Hopper. And
TL Hopper, yep.
The Goon and all those.
Dirty white boy, man. Dirty white boy. But, yeah, I saw that, and like I saw Tommy Dreamer from Yonkers, and I was like, I grew up around guys like him. Raven.
I love Raven. I think Raven,
a lot of us did, and like New Jack. I was like, I know guys like that.
There's a lot of people who don't like New Jack. Modern fans, and I'm like, I don't think you understand what he was doing.
It was a time period.
Yes.
A time period thing. He couldn't do it now.
There's no way. New Jack's Smoky Mountain run with some of the
when he mentioned Jason, and I was like, even then as a kid, I was like,
but that's what led to the believability of him. You know, like,
well, he also didn't mean it properly.
But there's a sense of there's not a lot of people who will say outlandishly crazy things in modern wrestling because
I think you can if you say it in a slick way.
And that's true.
You just have to be smarter.
You gotta have some
about
tact to it.
You gotta be smarter about it. You can't just blurt it out nowadays. You know what I mean? And I believe a lot of guys are smart enough to do that. They just don't sometimes.
That's interesting. Do you think it's because they're paranoid about the cancel culture stuff, which I don't personally believe in, because I think guys still get work after they've so-called been canceled?
Well, I don't know if it's that, if that's the fear
crucified
of it.
on Twitter or whatever.
I don't know if it's that. I just think some guys aren't confident to, be able to say certain things.
That makes sense. How do you think... do you think a lot of the guys aren't that confident, rather? Like, they just won't do it?
Either they're not that confident or they're not grown up enough to find out different ways of doing it.
Like, creatively saying it,
Yeah, they're stunted.
That's interesting. So, going back to being a Giants fan, what are your thoughts for the future of the Giants?
Well, I would like for them to get Mike Evans, because I believe he's a free agent.
It'd be nice to get him out of the NFC South, I must say.
Yes, for you, yeah. I would like for them to get him, and if they get Mike Evans, then that opens up their draft. So they may hopefully get a good offensive lineman in the first round.
Protect their quarterback.
Well, look, here's the thing.
But that's 90% of the game.
Yeah, we're stuck with Daniel Jones for a couple of years, so let's give him the best opportunity to win.
We're stuck with Derek Carr for God knows how long, so I know that feeling.
I liked Derek Carr when he was with the Raiders, and then he just went...
I got a buddy who, when I told him we signed Derek Carr, he's out in California, and he's like, I've seen a lot of Raider games. He might do well with the Saints. Mm-hmm. And my thought was, yeah, but we have an offensive coordinator who doesn't want to be here. Like, that's one of the things that, like, locally gets glossed over.
Yeah.
Pete Carmichael had to be talked into coming back to the Saints.
Yeah.
And like...
When you don't want to be somewhere,
it explains a lot of the offensive issues that they had early on in the season.
Yes.
When your coordinator doesn't really want to be here. But that's a whole other mess that I'm sure I'm going to open up some doors having said that.
There you go.
I'm going to get crucified from the Saints organization. I'll send me a nasty email or something.
Well, just save the email for later.
Just print it and put it on, frame it and be like...
Frame it on the wall and be like, look what they said.
That'd be really fun. So do you have any plans for Dynamite tomorrow, or are you going to be on Rampage? Well,
here's the thing that I love about AEW. We'll announce certain matches, and then after that, the format's out the window. You never know what's going to happen, And that's what I love about it. It reminds me of ECW in that sense, that you just never know what's going to happen. That's why I tell fans, come to the show, because you'll get the matches that are advertised, but you never know what's going to happen.
Right. Do you have any particular person you would like to face on tomorrow, or are you just open to anybody?
Open to anybody, because I know Brian's not going to be there tomorrow. Probably. So, but, if Brian was there, I would love to smack Brian, but,
He, it was a big moment as a fan here during WrestleMania 30, because I tell people all the time, since we're down south, this is an NWA, WCW territory.
Yes, so.
Seeing WrestleMania here as a little kid growing up here, mind-blowing.
Yeah.
It was probably the most emotional I've ever been at an event. And that includes the NFC title game against the Vikings, Well, no, that was the Rams. The Vikings won. They won because Adrian Peterson fumbled 5 times and we killed Brett Favre.
Yeah, and Brett Favre threw that interception.
Oh God, it's like one of the happiest I've ever been.
For you, maybe. For you,
happiest I've ever been. Although being in the Superdome post Hurricane Katrina when we opened up against the Falcons and beat the Falcons.
Huge moment.
People who are not from this area don't understand the Saints-Falcons rivalry. Both teams can go 2-14 and, but you're jacked up to beat them.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure there's the same way with Dallas and Philly and Washington.
Yep, same thing.
Who do you hate the most out of that 3 group?
man, I hate them all equally. To be honest, I can't just pick one.
Because I would
Whoever's
assume
doing the best.
I would assume it was Dallas, Philly, Washington. Because Washington hasn't had the most success recently.
That's what it is. But if Washington was like on top of the division, I hate them more than anybody. But it's been Philly and Dallas lately.
I'll be real. Usually when you go to a Saints game, it's usually pretty friendly atmosphere with everybody. Like, there's some smack talking when you go, like if the Falcons are here, you might shit talk someone or whatever. Yeah. But the craziest thing I think I've ever seen at one of the games was we were playing Philadelphia in the playoffs. I forgot what year it was, but it wasn't the 06 season. So it was more recent than that. And some Philly fans, I sit in the nosebleeds because they're the best seats because you
see everything.
Well, people don't understand about if you're at a football game, unless you're low and on the 50, get nosebleed seats. You see the play develop, you see everything. It's awesome. Yeah. And we had a row of Philly fans. And this girl, she was probably in her mid-20s. She wanted to fight everyone, and she was like so hammered and shit.
She was a Philly bro.
And I was like,
I know a lot of Philadelphia women, and let me tell you something. They like to fight, man.
I was like, this is everything that you hear about. I just didn't have to go to Lincoln Financial or whatever.
You didn't. No, Philadelphia fans are very rough, very passionate. But that's why I like them, especially Philadelphia wrestling fans. Because they bring that same passion and roughness to wrestling.
Regarding the Philly wrestling fan, do you ever feel, or just wrestling fans in general, when they have so much personality, do you ever feel like, stop, you're trying to, it's about the show? Like, how do you feel about that?
No, that doesn't bother me. I know it bothers other people.
Because I've heard of people saying the fans are trying to get themselves over, and I was like, they're just having a good time to me.
Yeah, no, I get where people are coming from with that. I totally get that. But for me, it's whatever. It's all part of the show, man.
Like,
enjoy it. Enjoy everything. Because, like, I, again, grew up with ECW, and that whole front row at the arena, they were all part of the show. Hat guy, sign guy, all of them.
A lot of us, we used to go to the Wildcat as a group of us. Mm-hmm. And I remember one of the guys, PT, he brought a bag of like McDonald's dollar cheeseburgers or whatever. Ooh. And he was just handing them out to the wrestlers on the way to the ring. And
I would have enjoyed that. I was like, thank you.
I remember Hardbody Harper, who's a hilarious local manager. He was just getting sick of PT shit. And he was like, fine, I'll eat your fucking cheeseburger. And he like ripped it and bit into it in the man. And like the whole place just popped.
Went nuts, yeah.
And it's a good memory of, everyone's going to remember that went to that show that night.
Yeah.
There's something about working the crowd that not everyone gets, I think.
No, they don't, but also it all depends on the time and the era and everything like that.
That's true.
And also how people were trained and all that stuff.
Going into that, I've always been curious about this because you hear a lot of older wrestlers talk about how there's too much planning ahead of time of what you're going to do out there.
Yeah.
How do I want to phrase this? What percent, not a percent, like a number, whatever, how many guys can go out there and just work? Because I feel like it's becoming a lost art.
Yeah,
and feeling a crowd.
There's certain guys that can do it, and there's certain guys that can't. You know what I mean? When I'm in there with somebody, I don't like to do a lot because I like to react to the people because that's what we're there for. We're there for the audience.
It's better to read and react to the room than I think, oh, hey, we're doing this, and then it doesn't work and no one reacts to it.
Instead of doing A, B, C, D, E, F, G, maybe I'll do A.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'll do D or something. You know what I mean? Like that's what I do. But I can only do that with certain guys. Other younger guys, you gotta kind of settle them down.
And
And it's only a lost art because nobody wants to teach it. You know what I mean? Or no one's confident enough in doing it.
I think wrestling is one of the best live events anyone can ever go to because I was telling Ricky this. There's a sense of when you're watching on TV, if you've never watched it, you can flip through it or just go, "Oh, that's stupid." What especially some of the stuff big companies do. You see it and you're like, "Well, that's a stupid story," or "That's a stupid."
It's just not right.
It's not for you, right? And you've mentioned there are things that you don't get into, but you don't trash them. You don't sit there.
No, because like I said, I don't watch any of the new stuff, but I'll sit there and watch old New Japan, All Japan, Noah.
I love watching the old
WWF, NWA.
I love watching NWA.
Yeah.
Because I was born in '85, so I didn't see a lot of that growing up. But some of that still like just clicks because it's good.
I just like violent stuff, man. Like, that's what I like to watch.
You love Dusty getting stabbed with the Road Warrior spike.
Yeah, even though it almost got them kicked off the air. Yeah.
That's crazy to think about. Like, you guys are doing barbed wire thumbtacks on TV, and yet a spike to the eye.
Well, different
I know.
Times, you know? And, when you were talking about, like, the calling the match and doing all that, a lot of times I don't like to say anything because a lot of the times I don't like the person I'm in the ring with anyway.
Right.
So we're going to go out there and we're going to fight anyway, so it don't matter.
So going back to the more violent aspect of wrestling, because I'm not a deathmatch guy. Okay. We know too much now about CTE, concussions, and all that stuff. Yeah. So I don't like.
I wish we knew that back then when I first broke in. Yeah.
So I don't like watching the ultra violent stuff because you know so much, and y'all do enough as it is. Just taking a normal like back body drop or a body slam or a power bomb or whatever. So when I see the hardcore stuff, it's not that I'm against that style of wrestling. I just think there needs to be a time and place instead of just, random Wednesday, random Friday, random, let's have this match, There needs to be a story to it. There needs to be build to it. There needs to be a reason for it to happen. Like, why is this random hardcore match happening, and why are these people bleeding when they don't have any history with each other?
Yeah,
that's just how I feel. So, do you have any thoughts regarding that? Because I know you've done some stuff.
No, I've definitely done it, and I do enjoy watching it. I do enjoy the style because it's just another style of wrestling. Just like I enjoy lucha, just like I enjoy the Japanese style of wrestling, just like I love the old school American style. I appreciate all styles. To me, I just let the performer do what they do. Even if I don't get it, I can't knock it because I'm not doing it.
Well, that makes sense. Because I got to a point, I think it was 2012, I was watching WWE. And I used to be one of those angry people that would get mad and go like, why they book it this way, blah, 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 And I got to a point where it was Cena versus Miz, I think, in R-Truth, that whole era of stuff. And I thought, you know what? I'm not going to get mad about this stuff anymore. The stuff I get really into, I'll just enjoy that.
Yes.
And I think a lot of wrestling fans in general that are online need to take that approach to viewing stuff.
They took their passion for what we do and turned it into a negative for themselves. You know what I mean? And they're just hurting themselves, really, when they hate so much on it.
Well, it's also true for any fan base, because you can see Marvel fans or DC fans complain about every comic book change.
Phase 4 sucks, 5,
And I get it, because there's kind of an oversaturation of these things, but they have to change some elements of your story, because why would you watch it if it was the exact same story
over and over again? Yeah. Also, I'm a firm believer of don't watch then.
Right.
Watch what you want to watch. If you like it, awesome. If you don't, then don't watch. Also, I grew up in an era where no one's opinion mattered.
Right. Like everyone's on social media now and sharing. But I also think the social media era of fans and whatever genre or media you're following, I think they're such the minority of what they like.
Yeah, I believe they're a very small minority.
Very vocal, but...
No, extremely. They're the loudest ones in the room, and I get it. I get when you don't like something. When I was a fan, and I didn't like a wrestler in ECW, I used to go to the shows when they were in New York. Yeah, if I didn't like a wrestler, I didn't leave.
Right.
And I didn't turn my back to the ring. I just went, all right, well, okay.
Just boo, maybe.
Boo the heel, cheer the face. Well, I just didn't get it. You know what I mean? I still don't get, if you don't like it, then why watch? Why write about it? You know what I mean? That's the thing I don't get.
Yeah. One more thing. What's your favorite Marvel movie or comic book movie in general?
Wow. Favorite comic book movie of all time is probably The Dark Knight.
It's a great movie.
Heath Ledger as Joker can never be topped.
I don't know. Cesar Romero was pretty good.
Yeah, he was, but
different style. But I think all the Jokers have been great for the.
Yeah. Well, except for Jared Leto.
Well, I'm safe. I stayed away from the Suicide Squad.
Smart. Favorite Marvel movie has to be Captain America Winter Soldier.
All right.
Because it didn't feel like a comic book movie.
You were talking about how Phase 4 and 5 sucked or whatever.
Well, I didn't.
Well, that's what I meant. The other people. Were there any Marvel movies that didn't do well that you particularly enjoyed? Because I haven't seen every one because I kind of pick and choose the ones I go.
Well, streaming has screwed me up so much that like I don't even go to the movies anymore. I just wait for it to come out on Disney Plus or like DC movies on HBO Max or whatever.
Did you like the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League?
Nah, I didn't care.
It was
the same. It was just.
I thought it was all right, but like I didn't.
It didn't set the world on fire.
Like people who were clamoring for that were really into it.
Yeah, Marvel movie that I thought would do good. I thought Ant-Man could have been.
I'm surprised it didn't.
Yeah. I just what happens is that all the because I watch nothing but YouTube anyway, but all the YouTube reviews and all the reviews of putting it down got people not to go and watch. And is there some things that I wish was better in it? Yeah, but it still doesn't make it a terrible movie.
I think regarding the Marvel movies in general, there's a sense of it's kind of like a factory in a way where they're all going to be good at the worst. There's never going to be like a truly terrible one.
No.
But some are better than the others, and
only
some
one I did not like, and it was a show. It was Secret Invasion.
I haven't seen it. So
yeah, I didn't enjoy it.
I've been meaning to watch Loki season 2.
That was amazing.
I loved the first season.
Yeah,
I think Tom Hiddleston as Loki is fantastic. So that's going to conclude this, Eddie. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you guys. AEW Dynamite, AEWTixTix.com. Right? Gotcha. Yep. Rampage is also taped that night.
Got the stars of CMLL coming up.
Yes, you do.
For the Lucha Libre fans in the area.
You get, you pay for one.
All Elite Wrestling returns to New Orleans with AEW Dynamite at the UNO Lakefront Arena. Professional wrestling is live back on the lakefront. Jon Moxley goes one-on-one with Jeff Hardy in the first time ever in singles competition. Chris Jericho faces Ring of Honor television champion Kyle Fletcher. Swerve Strickland has chosen Adam Page's opposition, and the Hangman will square off against the Gates of Agony's Toa Leona. Deonna Purrazzo takes on Taya Valkyrie with Timeless Tony Storm on commentary. And in our main event, Swerve Strickland must wait the whole effing show to see who Hangman picked as his opponent. And after that, stick around for Rampage. It's a special edition featuring the Lucha Libre stars of CMLL, as well as private party and tag team action against Top Flight. Tickets are available at AEWTIX.com and start at only $20.